A word of prayer to bestow blessings on a land, a people and a leader. Among these Samburu elders from the Lukumai clan is a daughter that they take pride in, celebrate and consult on matters that affect them, albeit the fact that she's the youngest amongst them. This is just another day in the busy life of nominated Senator Naisula Lesuda. Thrust into politics by circumstances in her home region where tradition has treated women as second-class citizens for long, she now takes it all in her stride, a remarkable feat for a woman barely out of her 20s. This is Samburu. The mere mention of the name conjures images of scenic landscape, but on the other hand, of violence and hunger. But her early years that were spent in and out of Samburu opened her eyes to the possibility of a life of promise for her people.
I grew up in a typical, modest home with my father. He's a clergy, now a bishop, and my mom supporting in his work as well. And we're a family of 3, so myself, my brother and my sister. I grew up, because he was a clergy, so we're just moving all over across the country. They say children of DCs, those DOs and teachers and clergy, they've gone all over the country because of the nature of their job. But it is one of the best things that ever happened to me, because then I was able to interact with so many different people.
This meant she lacked an opportunity to learn Samburu, yet her father wanted her to respect all that is good in the community.
So at some point we used to come home once in a while, and then we come home and I can't speak to my grandma in Samburu because that's what she can speak, and my dad was so vexed, and then they realized probably, we need to expose these children also to their home and everything. And so now it became a ritual that every holiday we're at home.
A foundation laid at an early age. From birth in 1984, her desire to become a journalist would shape her destiny.
From a very young age, I just knew I wanted to be on TV. Really? Yes, because those days you watch KBC and everything. And those days of Kasavuli, Catherine, and I used to really admire her. And I just used to sit down and I read. I used to really like to read. So I read out a storybook or anything to my parents. And I'm like, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to do this. And so that just stuck in my mind throughout.
After completing school, she went job hunting in Nairobi, finally landing an internship at a local television station and later a job as a news anchor and reporter.
Stay put. They are going nowhere. Naisula Lesuda reports.
And as this happened, reports of violence in Samburu surged, and she lobbied for a cameraman to be stationed there.
The guy now whom we are able to give the freelance job calls me. And he tells me, no, there's been such a huge massacre in Laikipia. Oh, we're all here. And I said, no, it can't be. I tell him, please go, head out to go there. And he says, okay, I'm going. And so he gets there at around 6, because I was going to work. I used to host a morning show. Then he calls me, he tells me we're here and we're counting the bodies. They're about 10. And then he calls me after 50 because I was also frantic, so I kept calling him and says, no, they're 15. No, they're also children, 20, 25, 30, 40. And I was like, are you kidding me? He said, yes. They're children. They were covering themselves like this with their mum and everybody, and they've all been shot. And the bodies are just all over the place and everything, and I couldn't hack it.
It was more than she could take. She was outraged by what she saw.
And I couldn't watch news for some time, but then I saw all the bodies. It was a mass grave. You can check the archives. It was a mass grave, and they were burying the bodies with a big tractor and everything. And the value of life is just that. All of them, the women, the children, everybody, cover.
Then, the turning point. She realized she couldn't just stand back and do nothing.
I looked for a few professionals from my community, and we went to see the Member of Parliament of Laikipia, Honorable Nderito then. And I like what he told us, because he challenged us. He told us, what do you want me to do? I'm just an MP. What are you doing? You are from there. They hear your language. You speak the same language. We're going there on the 12th of December. It's Jamhuri Day. We are going to Laikipia. If you want, just jump into the car. Let's go. You go to what you're telling me. Come and go and tell your people.
And so started her campaign for peace. Together with other like-minded people, they held peace meetings and caravans. Eventually, peace fell upon the land, rendering her a national hero. She would eventually leave journalism altogether. By the time she joined a political organization in 2012 as a communications consultant, people were seeing a budding politician.
The chairman of TNA, Sakaja once, so he asked me one day, would you, what have you ever thought about your life and things like that? And we just had this sort of conversation. Then also some of my relatives, they just told me, you know what, why don't you register in a political party? I said, why? Why would I? I don't know what they saw or something like that. And then my name was on the list of those to be nominated. And Sakaja later tells me, the work you've done for peace, you've been recognized by even the Kenyan government. You were the youngest to have an Order of the Grand Warrior for the work that you did. We think you can contribute, immensely if we get into government.
Before long, she was campaigning and was later nominated as a senator, where she had to fight allegations that the nomination process was flawed.
IBC gazettes the names, and my name is one of them. And so I'm like, okay. And one of the other ladies, the name has been dropped, and she was actually ahead of me. And so that also began a long journey of court and all that for me. And it was not easy, of course, because this is also another young lady like me, a young person who was also certain, she was actually certain that she's going to be in the Senate.
Even as she finds her space as a leader in her community, where a big challenge has been female genital mutilation, elders hold sway over important decisions and have been blamed for perpetuating the practice. The voice of women leaders is often muffled. Elders recently declared their support for the retrogressive right.
I must say that a lot has been done in the community, in terms of trying to save the girl, so that if it is rescuing them, now we have the alternative rite of passage. My take will be this, and it's something that I have been discussing with several men, the same way, and I would want us to actually use the model that we used with the peace caravan, so that we will have 1 or 2 or 3 champions who are men, who will be courageous enough to speak out, either that about their own daughters, about their own mothers, about their own wives.
Her work has not gone unnoticed. Among many accolades, Forbes recently named her as one of the 6 most powerful young Kenyan women in Africa. What has been your greatest achievement?
For me, every time that I think that there are communities which are living peacefully because of the effort of others than myself, that's more than anything for me, more than any other development work I can be able to do. And so it just gives me so much satisfaction.
In terms of politics, she's still fairly young, but that hasn't thwarted her ambitions. So what's the end game for you politically? Is it the highest seat in the country?
I am going to go for an elective seat. I will not tell you which one, but I will. Of course, everyone who goes into a race, you hope that you will win and you will succeed. And that is what I hope. But even if I don't, I will have made a first, just to show that you need to be courageous enough to get out of your comfort zone, because also when you're in politics, my friend, it's not too comfortable.
And her favorite music?
I love listening to gospel music, and you know, just if it would be to be the R&B of it, because really, I think from my upbringing, and so that every time I get into, in the morning, just before I get into the shower, my radio will be on that. But then, of course, there are times that I would love to go out and have a good time with my friends and enjoy dancing, and so anything danceable.
And in her free time, she would rather spend it in a low-key fashion.
Oh, I just love to have my me time, and that me time most of the time is with my friends, and it's close-knit again, and with my close-knit family. And so that most of the time I'm also just hosting, and it gives me a lot of satisfaction to just see happy people and people around, so that there are just always people around, you know, and entertaining.
Then there's that question she's avoided for a long time. I try my luck all the same.
Not really, don't do it. And I'll tell you later why. No, don't ask. Please don't.
Okay, I'll ask you, but you don't have to answer.
And then you'll say I didn't answer. So please don't ask.
This is the problem about interviewing someone who had a background in journalism. By the way, is this weird for you to be interviewed, to be on the other side?
Of
is it
course,
strange?
Of course it is.
But then you're clever about it. I'm going to ask you anyway.
No.
My boss will kill me.
No, Janet. Janet, no. No.
After a while, she changes her mind. Do you have someone special in your life?
Yes, I do. But as I had take two.
She giggled uncontrollably and then goes for another take.
I am very serious. Okay.
All right. Do you have someone special in your life?
Yes, I do. But as I had earlier said, and it helps me as well, is to keep my private life private. And it's something that we've done as a choice, and it helps a lot. It totally helps us. Yes.
For now, that's all she can tell us. And even though she keeps much to herself, she's a woman who's ready to speak up to improve the livelihoods of not just the people in Samburu, but in the entire country. Janet Mbogwa, Citizen TV for Newsmakers in Samburu.